Hey, welcome back. This is Jacob Vandenberg, host of Undertaker 365. I hope that you and your family are doing well and being healthy and staying safe. We're bringing a whole new segment of our series. We've gone through 15 full episodes here at Undertaker 365, covering a wide array of topics. We've brought in some extremely important field experts that have sat down with me and discussed their role in the funeral industry and how they could help families move forward or through a process before passing. It is my continued hope and desire to continue to bring field experts to our series to inform you of the entire funeral industry and the large umbrella that we all cover when it comes to the care and service that we provide to families. So we've gone through a lot together. I continue to look forward to do that with you as we progress. And of course, the ever so popular reality portion of our Undertaker 365 series. We're going to continue to bring new and exciting things to you so that you can stay entertained and that you can get a better glimpse of what's going on behind the scenes here at the funeral home. So with that, we will continue to talk to you about our viewer discretion, which I find to be extremely important. The information and things that we share with you are very sensitive topics, and we feel that it's important that you understand on the front end that the information that we are sharing with you and the various video shots that we're sharing with you are extremely sensitive, and we want you to have full discretion before viewing and understand that we take our jobs extremely seriously and that we provide honorable and professional services to the individuals that come through our doors, whether they be the living or the deceased. We treat them as though they're our family, and even though we're having fun behind the scenes and we're enjoying each other's company as employees and friends and family, we take our jobs extremely serious. So with that, for full transparency, please view our show as viewer discretion. Understand that the opinions and information that we're providing to you through Undertaker 365 is solely our opinion only. Certainly there's going to be differing opinions on various topics, especially when we start getting into our field experts, but understand that these are just the opinions of Jacob Vandenberg and certainly all the rest of the cast here at Undertaker 365. So with that, welcome back to a brand new and entirely revolutionized series here at Undertaker 365. We hope that you enjoy the rest of the content and series that we put out, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks.
What's up here, man? A lot of activity going on.
We were literally just going over the schedule, and then procedurally how we're gonna kind of implement the new mandates.
What are we doing?
So, well, the first thing is we're gonna tell each family we meet with that face coverings are gonna be required, and that's gonna be that's just gonna have to be something that we're
Face
doing
coverings in the building?
inside the building, yeah.
It's no different than
No, but
going to the jewel.
I think we've been a little lax on that. I mean, to be honest with you. So that's number one. Number two, the arrangements we're gonna play that case by case. I think if individuals are in nursing homes and have been tested, whether they're negative or not, I think that we want to distance ourselves in a closed, refined space and just continue to do their practice over the phone or online, case by case. Like I made arrangements on Saturday. It was the first time since March, whatever date that was, March 23rd or whatever.
Right.
But that was because the gentleman passed away at home unexpectedly. No reasons for it, and they were wearing masks, and so was I. So that's that. 50 people.
50 people, and are you just going to recommend to families that
So this is how I worded it on the obituary that I just did for this one for Wednesday. due to COVID-19 and public health mandates, the gathering size will be limited to less than 50 attendees. For additional information, contact. So I think we're just going to have to police that. Not that we're going to stand up there and count people, but I think we have a general idea of we could identify the size of a group of people, no different than counting people going to a luncheon. And then just if we have to make an announcement because it gets too large, then we'll just make an announcement that at this time, we're asking those that have been here for more than an hour to please exit the facility.
You don't think you could do it by age? For people that are 60 and above, your visitation hours are going to be from 2 until.
So I already
5. But I think that you need to tell the families too that if they had that visitation.
They have a responsibility. They have a responsibility to
You're
help.
telling them, hey, why don't you tell the older people come in at 4 o'clock, and then just scatter the rest of them out.
It's very hard. It's very hard, Josh, because people. It's not like you send out an invitation to come. It's not like a wedding where you're sending out invitations. It's public. It's announced. People hear about it.
So that's why. But think about. That's why I want to have the conversation amongst us, because those people that they're seeing the person that they're calling the funeral. And so we should be able to respond to them and tell them, okay, do you fall in this category or? I was waiting to see how this worked out a little bit before I got to that drastic level. But I already thought about can we implement certain times of that visitation time to allow susceptible people that are susceptible.
People with comorbidities and such, if you did if the family wants to do it traditional, they want to do 2 to 8 or 2 to 9. I don't think that it's. I think that it's right that you should have from a 2 to 4, or even if you did a 2 to 3 for seniors 60 and over.
Let's face the facts. That just happens to be the scenario no matter what. Usually, generally speaking, they come before 5.
The next day.
All right. So today we're here in our chapel at the funeral home. We have a first time ever, literally, in the history of our funeral home. We are having a virtual, 100% virtual funeral. Today will be a memorial service for an individual that was cremated. Their family lives throughout the country. They wanted to have a formal service, so we were able to set up something for them that we would do even if it were to be a full service and people were to be coming into the chapel. The difference being today is that there will be nobody here. So we have our camera set up on our tripod, prepared, ready for our Zoom. We have some proper video and photography lighting. I was setting up earlier over here. We have part of the service, we're even going to include music. There is an order of service that's been prepared by the family. There'll be a minister that will be on the Zoom conference conducting that service. My role is going to be placing the music on at the proper times, and then somebody else from the family is going to be sharing the Zoom screen for a memorial slideshow of the deceased. So really cool aspect of what's transpired in our funeral service since the onset of COVID-19 and how we're adjusting and recalibrating ourselves to the ongoing process of the fallout from COVID-19. And this is just one of the many ways that we're able to provide services yet for the family. So, I think that we're all set for today. It's in about a half hour or 45 minutes from now that we're going to be launching the Zoom. And then I'm expecting people to be starting to pile into the waiting room to begin our service today. So real cool portion of what we're doing here at the funeral home. Pretty sure that throughout the country, funeral home directors and funeral homes are doing the same thing or trying to do something similar to be able to provide that service for the family. So yeah, hopefully the technology all works out properly like it should. comfortable environment all the time. We have 4 central HVAC systems here at our funeral home, and on wicked, crazy hot, torturous days like it has been for the last week, the western portion of the funeral home receives direct sunlight pretty much 8 to 10 hours. It's nonstop. So our office sits in the northwestern corner of the building. Our preparation room sits in the western central portion of the building. So it heats it up. It's like an oven. So we had bought one of these portable air conditioners, and we utilize it in our preparation care facility. We use it for comfort. I mean, it stays cool. Everything is cool, but in the afternoon it could easily heat up to 78 degrees, and it's still cool compared to outside. However, when you're wearing suits for services and you're running around and you're obviously working in the preparation room, you want to stay cool and dry, and to do that we just add a little bit more air conditioning to it to make it a little bit more comfortable for all of us. And for a relatively inexpensive piece of equipment, it certainly serves as well. Oh my god, it's so hot. The hoozle. You take the hoozle right here. You snap the hoozle into here. So this goes like this. Ooh, hoozle. This goes like. Ooh, they've made this a lot better. That I can tell you. Oh, how easy could that have gotten? That's who's go right there. Yeah. Ciao.
This is the most work you've done all week.
Yep. Anything to stay nice and cool. Oh, it's a little loose, Josh. It's gonna be a little loose. So, this is what we plan to do. Okay? We take this right here. Place right here. This, and place it right. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Right here. We then shut. Oops. Goes in there like that. Stay. Oh, 9. Das ist not gut. Josh, you want to know how flies we're getting in here with the windows open?
That's it, huh?
Yep. Never even thought of it until I just saw that little depiction in the instructions.
Wait a minute.
Gotta put the batteries in it.
I already did. Why isn't it cold?
Son of a!
What's the temperature there? 75.
Is it really 75 already?
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's nothing. Wait, just
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
The installation was the best part. Pretty sure I didn't do anything on that. And yeah, I got some cold air coming out now. Thanks, Jay, for all your hard work for the month. Yeah, good job.
Go put your tools away there. Back
Oh,
here.
gotta have the right tools.
Hey, so part of this series, we're kind of showing you some interesting hobbies that I, myself, Jake Vandenberg do, and certainly what the rest of the staff here does. We're going to be rolling out some cool drone footage from the recent fireworks show that was held in village of Mokina, sponsored by the Ozinga family. And I just got on here, just my iPad is kind of showing you a little trick and trade and hobby and stuff that I do that is fun, and my boys really enjoy going. So that night we headed out, found a really cool spot on this side of Mokina and the Tinley Park side, and we're able to get a high little elevated area, saw the fireworks show, enjoyed our evening together. It was the first time both my boys were together for an entire start to finish fireworks show, which was really cool. And yeah, it was a great way to kind of wrap up our Independence Day. And then icing on the cake was being able to get the drone up in the air and get a nice elevated position, and was able to film 100% of the entire fireworks show. So I'm happy to share that with you today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that your 4th of July was awesome, that you were safe, and that you guys just had a great day. The weather was, I think, cooperated pretty well with us. It was a nice hot day, and there was no rain. So looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it was a little bit different than we've had in the past. Certainly different for the funeral home. Every year we participate in our Mokina 4th of July parade. We hand out free popcorn and water and ice cream. And unfortunately this year, I think it was the first year in 20 years, or somewhere right around there, that we were not participating in some capacity in the 4th of July parade because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as I posted on the 4th of July, on the funeral home Facebook page, was that we'll be back next year bigger and better. That's our hope. We're hoping that we're all able to attend next year's 4th of July parade, and with that we'll be bringing to you delicious salty buttery popcorn and ice cold water and all the little treats for the kids. So that being said, again, I hope that you had a great 4th of July. Enjoy the drone footage, and we'll talk to you all soon. Hey, welcome back to Undertaker 365 and the new segment, Drive Around with an Undertaker. Quite literally, that is being taken into place today as we just left the Will County Coroner's Office to transport an individual into our care. So today you are legitimately driving around with an Undertaker. Our first question is in regards to, and this is actually perfect timing because how soon is it that we do preparations on a remains after removal and transportation to the funeral home? The best answer to that is it should be done as close to passing as possible. That makes the job of the mortician, the embalmer, a lot easier, as because our body begins to break down and decompose immediately upon passing at literally the last breath, the last pump of the heart. The body starts to break down because of a very a various amount of breakdown of enzymes and proteins and all of the chemistry in our body, very complex makeup of our body and all the different types of elements and chemicals that are involved in it. It begins to break down immediately after the body has been declared deceased. So that being said, it's important that the embalmer were to have the abilities to do that as close to the time of death as possible, because the body is in a better state of presentation at that point. I mean, it's going to be an easier preparation than it would be if it were to be multiple days later. Now, that being said, the embalming process still gets to be taking place multiple days after death. It just, the body breakdown could be more severe at that point. And what I mean by that is because of the way embalming is done through the circuitry of the body, meaning you're injecting a solution into the arterial portion of your body, and you're removing the blood and chemical fluid from the embalming fluid through your veins. So we're using that circuitry of the body. Upon passing, those could be blocked, or the arteries could shrink in size, or the veins will collapse. So I mean, it becomes a roadblock at some points. Doesn't mean the embalmer won't be able to perform the task. It just makes it a little bit more difficult. So, great question. Very appropriate for what we're doing today, which is transporting an individual into our care. And when we get back to the facilities, we're going to begin our process immediately. So one of our, and this question is from Beverly Christensen, who we love, by the way. Bev, hi, thank you so much for continuing to support the works that we're doing here at Undertaker 365, and certainly through all of your positive feedback that you've given the funeral home throughout the years. So thank you for submitting your question. The question is if there's a delay in deciding on preparation or not preparation of an individual and refrigeration. The answer to that is absolutely, it's immediate. I mean, if there's going to be any type of delay, refrigeration is one of the only tools that a funeral home or a hospital or a medical or coroner's office has upon passing. It slows the rate of decomposition, and it helps in a multitude of ways. So if there were to be any type of delay in scheduling a service and or whether or not you're going to be doing preparations of embalming or not, refrigeration is critical. And I would mention that a lot of funeral homes do not have that tool. It is a very cost-centric tool that a funeral home can deploy, and some are prevented to having that. It could be because of space. It could be because of the cost. So for us, we have that ability. We've had refrigeration. It's probably close to 12 to 15 years now. One of the single-handedly one of the best investments that we've made outside of maybe the mortuary lift and our employees. I mean, it's critical to have as part of a tool that we use to combat a lot of the decomposition, and certainly when it goes into the families that have selected non-preparation or non-embalming for services, we want to make sure that we're able to treat the human remains in an honorable and dignified way, and the only way of doing that is to make sure that they're being preserved the best way possible. So thanks, Bev, for submitting that question. So we refer to them as cremated remains. That's the legal definition upon cremation. I know that the slang word, or the word that a lot of individuals use, is ashes. So in the context of what we discussed, we're going to refer to them as cremated remains. Cremated remains could take 7 to 10 business days from the time that the funeral director meets with the family. Not because cremation takes a long time, but because there's a lot of paperwork and documentation that needs to be in place prior to the cremation taking place. So in best case scenario, a family were to meet with the director, the death certificate would be signed by the doctor within 24 hours. The cremation permit would be obtained from the county of passing within the next couple of hours or 24 hours. And cremation would be following that. You could look at cremated remains being back to the funeral home in 4 days or 3 or 4 days. It really just depends on the documentation timeline and how fast we can get that taken care of. Obviously, I've mentioned this before, our funeral home, we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, hence why we call it Undertaker 365. Other entities are not. So they work standard hours, business hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then they have holidays off. So we're really at the mercy of a lot of other entities when it comes to preparing for cremation rites. But make no mistake, the funeral home has no reason for delaying that process or trying to in any way slow down the process. And I'll revert back to our previous conversation when it came to refrigeration. When an individual selects cremation without services, from wherever they pass to the time that we're able to get the cremation documentation in line and prepare for cremation, we're having to use our refrigeration facility, and we're limited on our space. So for us, it's a time, it's a schedule, it's trying to get everything finalized and prepared so that we could proceed with those cremation rites and free up a little bit of space so that if we were to take any more individuals for services or families that have called upon for our services, we have the ability to have the proper facility to hold them preparing for the next cremation rites. So again, it could be 7 to 10 days. That's what we say at our funeral home. We say that because we want a little bit of leeway, and if we have any snags or issues with procuring the cremation authorization and documentation permits. But cremation itself only takes 3 or 4 hours. It's just everything leading up to that. So when an individual selects cremation as a final disposition, again, to simplify funeral services, there's 2 manners of disposition, burial and cremation. That would be disposition, exactly meaning how to take care of human remains post-death. Families may select to have services still for that individual. And what I mean by services, meaning they'd like to have a viewing or a funeral service at a church. But the only difference being that they're not going to be buried at the end, they're going to be cremated. So individual families have the opportunity to rent a casket. It's a standard, typically a wood casket. They also have opportunities to purchase cremation caskets that the whole casket would be cremated. If you rent the casket, the interior portion of the casket is what's actually cremated. It's not the entire shell. The shell of the casket's reused for the next family that selects the rental casket.
So I think that kind of, hopefully that spotlights the choice that you have as a consumer. You with cremation, if you're having services that require the full body to be present for the service, you could either rent a casket or purchase a casket. Our particular funeral home, we 99.9% of the time use a rental casket. So, and that's just the way that we do it. Obviously, we do have availability to have cremation caskets purchased. However, a lot of the families just select the rental casket, and it's just the interior of that casket that's cremated, not the entire shell of the casket. Hi, Carol, and thank you for the question. This is a really personal question to ask. It's super, because I think there really isn't a right or wrong answer, in my opinion. I think you'll get a different answer depending upon who you talk to in the funeral industry. But quickly, when I see that, and we have run into that occasionally, and what I will say is that the instances that we've had would be when somebody comes in and actually pre-funds their funeral. So they sit down with the director, they'll sit down with myself, and they'll say that, Jacob, I want to do this, this, and this. And they pre-arrange or they pre-fund it. The difference being that the pre-arrange would be just sitting down, getting information, and then the pre-fund would be that sitting down, getting information, and then prepaying the funeral. But what we've run into would be that when the individual passes away, the family comes in and kind of wants to change that and kind of form it around what their wishes are. Now, this is where you run into the issue, is that, well, you sat down and you met with this individual and this is everything they laid out, but now, it could be a couple years later or 10 years later, and now it's completely different. You do need to, you're providing the service for the living, and all you could do as a director in this particular circumstance is express the wishes that were mentioned during the arrangement conference with the individual that passed, and then allow their family to make the decision. Like I said, a lot of the funeral services that are offered today are offered for the living, for the people that are living. For instance, when I have a conversation that's brought up or a question that's brought up, well, why even have a visitation? Mom or dad didn't really, have a lot of friends. They've outlived a lot of their family. I always revert back to something that I was taught. The visitation is not for the individual that's passed away. Yes, you're there to honor them. Yes, you're there to show that their life was worth celebrating. However, the visitation is there for the people that are living. The people that are living are going to have friends, and they're going to have family. They're going to want to pay their respects to you for losing your loved one. So, again, we need to be very cautious in how we direct the family that's making the arrangements. I know that there could be a riff, or there could be a difference in opinion on what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. The big thing being, do we go to church or do we not go to church? That's probably the most common question that's brought up. And I think at that point, we're kind of the mediator. We're put in the situation where, we lay out the facts, we lay out the presentation, we lay out the importance of having a celebration or a service of honor, whether that be in the church or out of the church, depending upon the family's request. And then we just sit there and listen, and we try to provide facts to allow for the family to make a conscious decision. So, and like I said, I think that this question, it's so personal. I mean, depending upon your beliefs, it could be completely different for the other funeral director you speak to. So for me, I want to honor the wishes of the deceased, but in the same capacity, I understand that the services are going to be provided for the living. And we need, hopefully there's a balance, hopefully that we're able to find some type of happy medium that we can honor the requests of the deceased, and we can certainly honor the requests of the living. All right, so there you have it. There's a couple more questions this week submitted by individuals that have followed us on our website and our Facebook pages, social media platforms. So I just want to say thank you to them for submitting those questions. I hope that I answered them as accurately and as truthfully as possible. Understand that those are just completely my opinion, and as our warning or discretion advised message says, that those are the opinions of the Undertaker 365 series. Certainly, like I said, there's going to be other opinions out there from professionals in the funeral industry. So what I say, although I feel is accurate and I feel that it's comfortable for what we do here at our funeral home and in our surrounding area, it could be different elsewhere. So again, thank you for submitting them. And I just encourage you to continue to submit these questions. You know, I've always been to the belief that there's not a dumb question. It's simply that there's not a dumb question. So if there's anything that ever pops up in your head, as you may find as being curious, or you might just want to know more information about, submit your question. Maybe it won't make it to this series, but it could be answered via that platform that you submitted to. So just encourage you to keep doing that. I hope that you're enjoying following along and living in the life of an Undertaker. As I expressed a couple weeks ago, it's been an honor and privilege to do what we're doing. I mean, I often feel that our profession kind of goes unnoticed until, unfortunately, you and your family is having to sit through what we do. And if you're able to have a better understanding before you get to that point in your life, I think it's going to make that interaction with your funeral director just that much more comfortable, and that you have a better open line of communication, and that you're going to get more value out of the service that they're providing to you. You know, we've gone through a lot the last couple months as a country. We've gone through a lot as a funeral industry, having to make drastic decisions that, I mean, have just completely turned over the face of the funeral business and how we conduct services. And what I'm trying to say is that it's so important to stay continually engaged in what's happening, because you're going to eventually have this portion of your life that you're going to make these decisions. And you know, the things that we're doing, they're critical to our humanity, and they're critical to the society and communities that we live in. So, again, thank you very much for watching. We're going to continue to kind of bring you up-to-date lives as we drive by. Here's a funeral procession that's going by on the interstate. They're on their way out to Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery, I presume. We're immersed in the funeral business, and we want you to feel comfortable with it as well. So until next time, this is Undertaker 365, and we will talk to you all very soon with your Drive Around with the Undertaker. Thanks.